my few cents on that. And Clint and Jason, you know me for over 20 years. You know my story. I have two decorated professionals on the market. One is a celebrity product manager. Clint, you've been through many products in the automation space, and you led the award-winning technology, market-winning technologies in your career. Jason, you've been in the tremendous enterprise, high-end professional services sales as much as I know you, right? So you understand the market very well. I led the SWAT team of Mercury that segued to the HP afterwards. So I led the professional services subdivision that was taking the most mission critical engagements as a post-sale, right? So, and I've been on the edge of merging the right, which almost right. Makes sense? So consulting industry in the automation space predominantly arises on the lack of the promise that the developer, the product teams were given to their customers. So, for example, predominantly, WebDriver industry arises on the pitfalls of the Quick Test Pro object recognition and object repository that couldn't recognize object on the most mission critical processes. Descriptive programming was taking place. Everybody were describing the property of the project in a singular line of code. That added enormous amount of man hours to the automation. So with that said, on the commotion of the low-level coding, rise the entire multi-billion-dollar industry that in the completion to the product sales required triple budget to drive this automation process through the workforce to implement these tools that being purchased. Make sense? Now, with the rise of AI and the rise of the autonomous automation, we're eliminating this gap. Now, honest to goodness, any subject matter expert that their leadership bought the product for be able to drive entire process from beginning to the end with the smart AI-infused tools. Make sense? How do you see that?
Yeah, I see it as from the standpoint of when I start looking at not only just when I look at just those that really know what they're doing in our industry, right? You look at some of our thought leaders, you look at Joe, you look at Jason, you look at yourself. Imagine if we had the folks that have your skill set that can run these teams or be able to reduce that amount of waste. Because what you're going to see is those that really understand test automation, that have really been, the advocates of it and been preaching about it and doing all these great things, they can now, with the help of AI, eliminate a lot of the waste that Jason talked about earlier. So now you've got the experts. And now you're seeing the evolution of quality and those experts in quality. So what are they doing now? They're doing things, it's a totally different paradigm, right? It's a paradigm shift. So now what you're seeing is those experts that understand this and really understand how to use AI and agentic AI and how to apply context engineering in the right way. Having them lead that's going to shrink that team. So now you've got someone at the top that's leading it versus having someone with an army of testers that are manual and automated. But now you've got true experts that are coming in, that are actually lean, that's really helping, accelerate quality for all these organizations. So I definitely see it as with these solutions like what you have with ZAPTEST and those that really understand test automation and not just guessing or just trying to choose the flavor of the month tools, actually go in there and try to implement it and leaving a company with a bunch of spaghetti code and waste.
Record playback felt like a toy? Needed help to scale? Record and playback reinvented, powered by ZAPTEST. Record real actions. AI turns them into test scripts. Scalable, codeless, smart. ZAPTEST one click. Reinvent your testing today.
I think the creation for the sake of creation is one thing, or code for the sake of code, but also security, job security, or otherwise through obfuscation. That's been a concept that exists, but I think that by really clearing the air and eliminating all of the layers, the fog of war or whatnot, we're really stripping down. First, we're raising the base on any project where any company starts exponentially over where a project would have started 10 years ago just because of AI. You've got some base code, your development time is going to be accelerated. Now you're moving at scale, you're moving at demand. I think that the real downstream implication of all of this is because you're eliminating a lot of that fog and a lot of that mystery and you're saving time and everything else. Yes, individual teams can run leaner, but I think it also gives you a greater diversity of strategies that companies can employ to it as well. So you might be able to spin up 5 different new projects or just one in the same budget, or for a company that's working with a different budget, we can just be laser focused and hit this and go hard and running. I think that ability to have choice and how you're going to bring a product to market originally and each and every single iteration is earth-shakingly dramatically altered by this, because now everything that we have been doing potentially has to be rethought as we shake this up. If you truly want to be disruptive, this is the time to do it. And to be able to be disruptive in your approach, you can get a lot more done lean. And I think here you start and you see, how far can I go on my own little project on the side? And then if you do that as a company, as individuals contributing to it, I think you get a tremendous amount of downstream value. You just need to figure out a way to harness that unbridled potentiality that's exposed and come up with a way. And I think that's where procedurally, that's, the real focus of going back to, the process consultants and everything else, that's where they need to rethink the way the processes should flow to make this all work and harness the true power of the technology. Sorry, done with my soapbox on that one. It is black belt in Six Sigma, so the efficiency thing starts to percolate, and that's underlying all of this. I see all of these areas for efficiency.
Yeah, Jason, speaking of the Six Sigma and black belt, what I see historically in the industry, it's a waste of budgets and efforts on redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're taking a large institution, you have so many corners in the company that replicating themselves 3, 4, 10 times. Makes sense? Because they don't have unified way of collaboration among them, and they have a separate goals as far as the development and automation in general. Makes sense? And altogether, if process would be optimized greater, and the corporation would have best practices to review efficiency of each automation team and share artifacts that those teams producing, and ideally unified into the hubs, sort of, which going to provide more streamlined automation across the groups and maybe even across the disciplines. So the companies would be not even the budget-wise, but more even the efficient-wise in the better space. Because right now, with the agility of AI, it won't be even the aim gain, won't be even saving the budget as much as delivering it fast. Make sense? Everybody's expectations leveled to the system prompt response of generative AI today. So the way it answers your question, a miscellaneous question, the way your leadership expect you to provide and produce all your daily work. Something like that. That's what I see. What do you think about it, guys?
Well, I think the clarity and the transparency is one of the biggest things in that. I mean, my background not being development, but making sure what developers do stand up really from a functional standpoint. I kind of look at that. That's how I'm looking at efficiency and mean time to resolution always. So when this does break, what's the impact? What's it going to do and everything else? So I think that not just from where you guys are approaching this, just from a test automation perspective, and more attention needs to be paid to testing all code that goes out. And now, can you keep up with pace and demand? But more importantly, does the entire environment know when this new code's released and whatever gets touched and everything else? So I think that because it's a much more narrowed focus, and you've got a lot of information that's automatically collected. It should result downstream where we're doing less discovery and resolving things, and more, that just proactively, okay, we're anticipating and building this in so we know how to handle these things. So we're anticipating growth type of cycles and optimization. So I hope that ultimately the entire scope of this is to shift. So in that choice of change, we can make choices that put us in less of a reactionary stance and more of a proactive stance in the way we do everything. And that extends from, code development and release to, the other aspect of agentification, which is to receiving the feedback loop from the customer as well. And all that. So all the inputs on that code after it gets released, we've got more meaningful collection points of information that can be rationalized into something objective and useful downstream.